I'm really excited to open the chat up to focusing on the very important other halves.
Initially, I didn't have this kind of euphoric sense of love that I was expecting, right? That I was told I was going to have.
This week, I have managed to steal Mathew Lewis Carter, podcaster, social influencer, and dad, to discuss his journey into parenthood.
It was just those two, and I found it really, really hard from the outside in, because everything physically as well is happening to mum.
It sounds like that moment that you recognise, okay, this is postnatal depression, was like this validation that you really needed, like giving it a reason or a thing. And
we understand that actually dads go through a hormonal change as well. Like they have a drop in testosterone, and there was just so many things that just started to click and make sense.
Hello, I'm Pip, and welcome to the Midwife Pip podcast, the home of expert information and real chats on all things pregnancy, birth, and beyond. Now, we talk a lot about motherhood and women's health on the podcast, so I'm really excited to open the chat up to focusing on the very important other halves, the dads. This week, I have managed to steal Mathew Lewis Carter, podcaster, social influencer, and dad, to discuss his journey into parenthood. So welcome, Mathew, and thank you for sprinting back from the school run this morning to join us.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yeah, I've already had my fart look session in for the day. I've had my daughter on my shoulders sprinting up the hill, running past the traffic, which was fun. But yeah, it's a pleasure to be on here. Thank you for having me.
I love those moments of parenthood. That's always when I'm like, this is why I exercise. Like, this is the reason
that's
do this
it.
stuff.
Exactly. It's the moments like that. We have a very, very steep hill on the way to my daughter's school, and the queue for traffic was down to the bottom, and I just thought, bugger it, I'm going to throw her on my shoulders, and I sprinted up the hill. I mean, I was sweating when I got to the top of it, but it's a good start to the week, I think, or a good start to the day anyway.
Good fire up on a Monday. And I bet you were her absolute superhero as well doing that.
Yes, I think so. I mean, she looked down, she could see me sweating and panting profusely. I don't know about that, but yeah.
Love that. What an entrance to school on a Monday morning.
Yeah, exactly.
If we could zoom you back, Mathew, like 4 or 5 years, 5 years now, what was that moment like? The moment that you found out that you and Chessie were expecting with your first little one? Because I think we always have like a real focus on mums at that point, and we start suddenly jumping to like symptoms and birth and all that kind of stuff. But what was that like for you as a dad, if we zoom right back to the beginning?
It was quite. We have quite a funny story, actually. Like, I know because Chess has been on, hasn't she? But I don't know if she told you the actual story.
I didn't think she did. No, because she was very pregnant, so we were like,
oh, okay, yeah, all right then. So basically, I was sat in bed one day. It was close to Halloween, and Chess was upstairs doing something, and then she came downstairs, and as she came into the bedroom, she'd wrapped herself in toilet paper, like all over her head, all over her shoulders, all over her torso, and it was a few days out from Halloween, and she was like trembling a little bit, and she said, "Guess what I am?" And I don't know, I think I said insane or crazy, and I said, "I don't know," and then she said, "No, guess what I am? It's nearly Halloween," and I said, "Oh, a mummy." And I went, "A mummy, a mummy," and the penny finally dropped, and I went, "Oh my God." And she just started crying, and it was, in fairness, like, it was hilarious because I was never expecting to find out that way. I don't think anybody else on the planet, any other dad on the planet, has found out that way, and I don't think they ever will. So that was, I think, you get hit with, because so we weren't, Aurelia we weren't trying for Aurelia, like it just happened. And I think I was very much in a position where Chess has always wanted to be a mum. Like, she is just mum through and through. But I kind of always had in my head that, I'd be a little bit further on in my career, or I'd be doing something like this. So I wasn't mentally prepared for it at all, which I think, I've spoken to a lot of my friends about that. And I don't know if that's just a male trait or something. There's this kind of idea of masculinity that you've got to be the strong, the provider. You've got to have
Mhm.
the huge house, and you've got to be able to afford everything for your child to do. And in my head, I think there was an element of that. Just from the learnings I've had growing up, as the idea of what to be a dad is, and the idea of masculinity and looking after your family. So when that happened, my immediate sense was like, oh my God, like I need to pull my socks up here. And we've spoken about this very openly on The Secret Life of Dads, the podcast that I do. So my co-host Lawrence, he very much went into kind of like a fight or flight response when he found out he was going to be a dad. So he kept turning up to work, and eventually burnt out with like chronic
Mm.
fatigue. Um, I kind of actually went the other way. So we found out Aurelia was pregnant. When Aurelia arrived, it was COVID. Um, and then I just didn't, when Aurelia came into the world, initially I didn't have this kind of euphoric sense of love that I
Yeah.
was expecting, right? That I was told I was going to have.
Yeah.
At the time as well, out of all my friends, I was like the first in my friend group to become a dad. So
Mm.
I hadn't really been, around children or anything a great deal either. So I didn't really know what to expect. But I didn't have this just euphoric sense of love, which now, from the conversations and everything I've had, I've actually found out is perfectly normal, and
Yeah.
it's perfectly normal for mums to have that as well. But there's this like idea, and immediately I just thought there was something wrong with me, that I didn't
Mm.
have this, this sense of connection straight away. And I think there was also a deep sense of being put on the bench, to use like a
Mm.
football kind of analogy. Or it was always Chess and me. Like we were the strikers, we were scoring goals, we were a team. And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden, I was on the bench and
Mm.
I was subbed off, and this new striker came on in Aurelia. I've never used this as a football analogy before, but I think it's working.
I like
And
it.
it
Yeah.
was just those two. And I found it really, really hard from the
Yeah.
outside in, because everything physically as well is happening to mum.
Yeah.
So at the time, I really struggled with that. And I kind of lost myself for a year. I've spoken very openly about struggling with postnatal depression,
Yeah.
which I think the stats are about 1 in 10 for women, sorry,
Mm.
1 in 8 for women, and about 1 in 10 for men. But to be honest, Pip, I think it's probably a bit higher.
Way
I think
higher.
it's way higher.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Like
such a stigma box, isn't it, that people don't want to touch
yeah,
and talk about.
totally. And I remember, again, like just finding an article probably like 18 months after Aurelia was born. I found this article on the back end of the internet somewhere. I was just curious about postnatal depression. And then I found, loads of it about mums struggling with that. And I knew that anyway before
Mm.
becoming a dad.
Mm.
But then I came across this article saying that dads struggle with it too. And I just remember Chess was on the sofa next to me, and there was just this like light bulb moment of, oh my God, what if it was that I had?
Yeah.
This kind of this disconnect that I'd had, not just from Aurelia, but then from my partner for that year.
Mm.
And it was just this kind of amazing moment. And that's the thing, with diagnosis, it can kind of go one way or the other. For people, so a lot of people can feel kind of subjugated by it and carry a weight with it. But for me, it was like that weight had been lifted, and it was just like,
Mm.
ah. And then I got into it a bit more, and the work that we've done on the podcast, we understand that actually dads go through a hormonal change as well. Like they have a
Yeah.
drop in testosterone, and there was just so many things that just started to click and make sense. But like the literature wasn't out there beforehand. In the podcast space, there wasn't really anything there. There's this very much this idea that a lot of the literature for dads is very much like this commando dad style books that are out there, the kind of books that you get at the bottom of a Christmas stocking. And it's like
Yeah.
just a bit of a laugh, like get on with it. You'll be on the clueless dad. He's at it again. And
Yeah.
that's all kind of the literature I had to look at really. So it's been a real, we really struggled in our relationship, Jess and I, during
Mm.
that year as well. Like I started, she urged me to go to therapy, and I always remember the therapist said, after our session today, I want you to go back home and I want you to ask your wife what it's like to live with you. And to be honest, it's probably like a question that saved our marriage. And I've spoken to a
Mm.
lot of my friends about this as well, and they've actually started to do it with their partners, which is really interesting. Like a mate showed me a text that he sent to his wife, and he was like, "I was really scared to send it because it is such a vulnerable question." So yeah, I came back and I asked my wife what it was like to live with me, and turns out I had been. We never argue, Chess and I, but what had happened is I just become silent. Like you become a parent for the first time, it's very easy. We were just in like the passing ships in the night phase. It's like, okay, I'm exhausted. There's your turn. There's your turn. And there's a real breakdown of communication, which I think is so, so important. Um, so the first year, it was a bit of a shock to the system,
Mm.
and I really, really struggled. And I think a lot of dads in the first year, because it's such a shift. Like it's such, I can't even explain like how much of a shift it is to
Yeah.
people. And I do wish people would be a bit more honest and open about, look, it is beautiful that I wouldn't change it for the world. I think it's the most incredible thing becoming a parent, but it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. And
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that until I became a dad. And I do wish people would be a bit more open and
Mm.
honest about that. Like if you do unravel for a little bit of time, it's okay. It's perfectly normal,
Mm.
rather than the perfect idea of you're going to be sleeping through the night, you're going to be having cozy walks, and you're out in the pram. There's going to be. I was doing school drop off today, and it was chaos.
Yeah.
Like kids screaming, "Come back here!" And I kind of just smiled a little bit as well because I was like, because when you are a parent, you can sometimes feel like you're the only one going through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just like World War III out there today. So I was just like that. I did take something from that. So yeah, I've done a lot of work on myself,
Mm.
and Aurelia's now 4.5, and it's amazing. She was also, and I think some of my dads might relate to, and I've spoken to other dads about this. She was very much, and she always has been really like mummy, 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 mummy. And
Mm.
sometimes for dads, well, I found that really hard. Like we even have it now, like with
Mhm.
bedtimes, we alternate doing bedtimes, and if I do two bedtimes in a row, she lets me know about it. She's like, "No, no, no, you did bedtime last night." It's
Mm.
quite funny now because she's full of character, and she's great with her words. But when it's a lot younger and they can't
Mm.
communicate, I found that really difficult. Because any advice to dads on that, it like the stage does pass,
Yeah.
but when you're in it, it's really difficult. It's you kind of feel like you're the only one. Again, it goes back to that bond. Sorry, I've got my
Mm.
Hugo,
That's all right.
got my dog on the bed next to me.
It's a
Um,
family podcast. It's good.
it is, yeah. So there was yeah, it wasn't, to go back to your original question, it wasn't the first year of parenthood that I expected it to be. I
Yeah.
definitely unraveled. I unraveled a lot. I
Mhm.
unraveled to the point where it was, kind of Chess and I were on the brink, really.
Mm.
But we're in a great place now, and we're trying for number two, which is quite a journey because Aurelia was so easy.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
And we'll definitely talk about trying for number two in a minute,
Mm,
Matthew. It sounds like that moment that you recognized, okay, this is postnatal depression, was like this
mm,
validation that
yeah.
you really needed, like giving it like a reason or a thing, and knowing there
Mm,
was like a way forward was like a big turning point for you. What do you wish? Like you mentioned about how you just weren't prepared for how it wasn't going to be this rose tinted,
mm.
beautiful, glamorous, romantic year. What do you wish someone had told you before becoming a dad for the first time? What would have made that a little bit smoother or less jarring?
Mm. So I remember when the midwife came over, this was like the first few days in,
Mm.
she just said to me, by the way, if it ever gets too much, just step out the room. I was like, okay,
Hmm.
like why would it get too much? Like I never really, at the time, I was like, and then a few weeks later, I understood what she was saying. But I never had, and we've spoken to so many experts about this. Like I
Mm.
never had anybody just come up to me and ask me how I was.
Yeah.
I know that sounds so simple. It just, if somebody in the first couple of weeks I think with the sleep deprivation and everything I was feeling would have said to me, look, how are you doing? What are you
Mm,
struggling with? I think I probably would have just broke down in tears, to be honest, Bip. And I think for me, that would
mm,
have been an amazing sense of relief,
mm,
because it doesn't take much to ask somebody how they are. And maybe again, we're going back to traditional masculine traits that we're still, that we still kind of have as a society,
mm,
that the men will be okay, that they are strong, that they are stoic, and that it's their role, it's their role to be able to cope with this. But I know so many dads that don't. I remember putting up a social media post about it. And I remember just reading through the comments, and then there was just one comment that I'll never forget. And there was this dad who just said, "Holy shit!" Sorry, we may bleep
that's
out the shit,
good.
but he said that's what I had. And he was like a dad of three, and I was like,
Mm,
to think that that's how he's found out. He found that out through a TikTok post, and
yeah.
I found it out on like page 3 of Google. I just think it does dad such a disservice, because being a dad it's the most incredible, fulfilling job I've ever had. Like, it's been
Mm,
bar none the most challenging.
yeah.
Um, but I truly believe that you have a group of dads now. Dads are spending 3 times more time with their kids than any previous generation now. So you've got a group of dads who really want to be there.
Yeah.
And I think to characterize them in that way and put them in this box that they are a bit useless and I'll figure it out, I think it's
Mm,
such a disservice to dads and to men. And it's so unfair, because like, we do everything. Although our daughter always wants mummy more, I'd say we do like an even split of things. Like, I'm
yeah.
very, very conscious of that. But
Mm,
everybody's lifestyles and everything are built differently depending on your jobs. And again, there's so many factors to this. Your the paternity leave in the UK is the worst in
yeah.
Europe. Like,
We set you
it's
off
a
on a bad, like in an impossible
oh
task, don't we?
yeah, exactly. There's a group of dads actually called the Dad Shift
Yes,
who
they've been
set this
on the
up.
podcast.
Oh, Alex, was it
Yeah,
Alex?
Alex has been
Yes,
on,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's. I was like,
Oh,
like if how do we even? We speak so much, don't we, about like equal
mm,
rights for men and women, and yet when we look at the
yeah.
parenting space, we are literally like so thousands of years behind,
Oh,
even being
totally.
anywhere near equal.
Archaic. So yeah, it's 2 weeks in the UK, and it's like
Mm.
places like Scandinavia is like best part of a year, and yeah, 2 weeks at about, I think it's like £180 per week, and then
Yeah, it's
you're just
just ridiculous.
expected to get, so immediately dads then they're starting on the back foot. They After 2 weeks they're back. They don't have the time to bond. There can like creep in a little bit of like resentment from your partner as well. Like,
Yeah.
if you've been out all day working and then they've been with the kids, you come back, you just want to relax, but you can't. So like, it's really difficult. And I think the paternity leave in the UK, now that that's beginning, hopefully, to change through the dad shift, I think we'll see a huge difference in dad's roles
Mm.
there as well. But that's a big point. There are so many factors, but the paternity leave one, me being self-employed as well, that was a huge part. I remember just kind of just going back to work the next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've really noticed a shift. So we've got two boys. So I'm really
Mm,
passionate about the dad conversations and normalizing mental well-being in men, in
hmm
boys, naturally, because I want them to grow up in a generation where it feels different. But we've noticed a big difference with my first son. My husband was in a, working 5 days a week kind of job away from home a lot. With our youngest, he was much more flexible, he was self-employed, and just his journey of fatherhood between those two has been really
mm,
different, having that flexibility, having that ability to be present. And we've been able to reach that kind of 50-50 parenting much better, much more
hmm
organically, and in a way that our children are much more accepting of, from having that flexibility. But it's such a big barrier. I love the fact that you mentioned there that if someone had just said, like, how are you? Like, how are you really feeling?
mm,
That for you would have saved, hopefully, a lot of that, that difficult period. And likewise for other dads, meant that you got professional support sooner rather than searching online in a really difficult low time.
yeah.
One of the things I often talk to families about is when we talk about birth planning, I'm always like, right, we need to also think about postnatal planning, like almost having a
Mm,
postnatal survival tool. And one of our non-negotiables is always like maybe a daily, maybe a weekly, depending on what your life looks like, but just to check in with each other where you can
Mhm.
just say, and whether it's on WhatsApp or whether it's face to face, but just having that point of communication. How are you
Mm.
doing right now? Like, how are you? So that you can try and have those open conversations and feelings, and actually pause and think.
Mm.
Because you can just get caught up, can't you, in like keeping this small person alive and suddenly having no idea where you're at or what's going on for you personally.
Yeah, you can. It's so true. You just, yeah, I remember so clearly that we got to the point. I said previously that we were literally just passing ships in the night.
Yeah.
Like, our daughter, unfortunately, she was the worst sleeper. I might say the worst sleeper that has ever existed. Probably not, but we really struggled with her sleep, even to the point where it was nearly three. She was nearly 3 years old that we fixed it, and to be honest,
Mm.
I think that had a big part with my struggles as well, is the sleep deprivation. So if we were able to communicate in a way
Mm.
that just would have given us a bit more, just a bit more peace with each other, I think would have been really, really great. But we didn't, because it's the first time you do it as well. So that
Yeah.
you don't really know what you're doing. Like before I forget, we had have you had Dr. Anna Machin on?
No.
She wrote this book, How to Dad, um, How to Be Dad, and she's amazing. Like honestly,
Mm.
she's absolutely amazing. She is at like the forefront. She fights for dads. She's very much like, she goes against the narrative that dads are useless, and
Mm.
she's really, really fascinating. But we had her on the podcast, and she said that her partner really struggled with it as well, because again, nobody came up to him and just asked him how he was.
Yeah.
And I think just having that outlet, or even, if you've got friends who are going through it, even when you're not a parent, just like to check in with them,
Yeah.
because you're so oblivious to it when you're not a parent. But if you have a group of friends, I don't know, to anybody listening who have just become a parent for the first time, and
Mm.
and you might be a bit like, look, why don't they ever text me anymore? Why are we so disconnected? They are probably going through the hardest thing that they will ever
Mm.
go through. So it's not that they're not getting in touch with you out of malice; it's because they're really struggling. So
Yeah.
I didn't get any text. I don't think I no, again, because I was the first out of my group of mates. So
No one
all
got
the
it.
all
It's
the,
really hard
all
to
the
get
guys.
it, isn't it?
So yeah, exactly. Now all my mates now, I am religious with checking in on them.
Mm.
If it's a voice note, or, and my group of mates now, they've been really good. And just another mate sent me a photo the other day. He just looked exhausted. He just said, "Mate, this is really hard, isn't it?" And I think that's really important for
Mm.
men. Just if you get it from another dad, like the struggle,
Mm.
it really, really helps. But that communication is so important. That, as you said, just a simple check-in can go such a long way. And having those check-ins in your relationship is everything, because
Mm.
otherwise you will drift and you will begin to resent each other. And it's not a great environment to raise a child if you're
Mm.
resentful and you're bitter and you're sleep deprived, and you just kind of got to remember, why you got together in the first place. And after Chess and I had our big conversation, we were literally like, right, let's just go back to the start. And the the reason our relationship started because we were fun and we loved having fun with each other, and we became parents and we weren't doing that anymore. It
Yeah.
was just like we weren't having any fun and we were just exhausted and we were cranky, and but
Mm.
having that depth and that communication is just, it's so integral to the strength and support of your relationship. And again, I think that's, if somebody would have said to me beforehand, hey, you two, what you're about to embark on will be the most beautiful, but it'll be the hardest journey you'll ever go on.
Yeah.
Make sure you're checking in with each other. And I
Mm.
know I know there's countries in the world where they do have that for parents. I'm not sure where it is. We spoke about it on the podcast, but they almost have tests that you have to do after you've had a child,
Okay.
and it's really nice actually. I'll try and look into it after the podcast. But yeah, tests that you've got to do, and then they check in on the relationship, how that's
Mm.
evolving. Probably
Even just that
Scandinavia.
opening up the
Yeah,
conversation is powerful, isn't it? Like even just
exactly.
giving you that
Mm.
opportunity. Do you feel like, Matthew, you're almost in like a guinea pig generation of dads, because you mentioned how historically dads were like kind of the bystander, and I hate this
Mm.
term, but the whole pregnancy, birth, parenting thing was like women's work, and
Yeah,
dads, you know, were outside the birth room, or you know,
yeah. Dads were
they
in the
did just,
pub. Yeah.
yeah, like they did, you
Like
literally like
literally,
checking the
dads were in the
football.
pub.
It's
Yeah, yeah,
literally different. Whereas now
yeah.
we've kind of created this shift in expectation. And for a lot of dads, you know, like yourself, a want and a need as
Mm.
well. But yet we haven't got that kind of infrastructure or that support. So you're kind of trying to pave that way, but in real time.
Yeah, I don't think like the emotional literacy.
Mm.
I don't think I had that when I became a
Mhm.
dad. You know, they say so much about of parenting is, you know, how you regulate your child's emotions. And actually it's all about how you regulate your own emotions.
Yeah.
And I don't think many this generation of dads that they're probably, you know, beginning to do the work now, but the emotional
Mm.
literacy, it wasn't there for them. And then when they go, okay, by the way, this is all like a 50-50 split now, here you go. And I think a lot of guys, to
Yeah.
be honest, I just panicked. I
Yeah.
was like, I don't know how to do this. I always remember somebody told me, I don't know why, but somebody said, yeah, you can't leave the hospital until you know how to do a nappy. And in my head, I was just, oh my God, I don't know how to do a nappy. And I was petrified. I think I was more scared of that. And then I was more scared of that than Aurelia coming into the world. Turns out we could. Turns out I could do a nappy. But I think for men not having that literacy is
Mm.
it can be quite overwhelming and quite daunting as well because you just kind of go into it. There is still that element with our generation that is a bit like, oh, okay, well, you know, that's the partner. She knows what to do. She's got it all figured out.
Yeah.
But I think we're starting to see a real cultural shift.
Mhm.
Um, I I love trying to understand more about this cultural shift, but that
Mm.
idea that you said about the guinea pig generation, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think these new dads are the guinea pig generation. They
Yeah.
it's still really hard because you want to be at home with your children, but you also want to fulfill your career. And again, mums are like that now as well, right? So you've got this constant push and pull. So I think mums are experiencing that as well. This
Mm.
idea that hey, we can have a career, but hey, it's also really hard to have a career if I want to be a fully present mum. And then
Yeah.
dads are doing the same, and there's this like this little kid
Yeah.
in the middle of it all, and we're just trying to figure it out. You know, it's the same with smartphones, with the guinea pig generation on that, like how to do
Yeah.
that. And it's just, don't get me wrong, it's the best time to be alive now, 2025, like bar none. But equally, it comes with its own challenges, which like I don't think our parents understand really.
No, and it's hard because
Um,
we've got less kind of social support, because there is this shift
mm,
and these like different things that we're trying to navigate, that it's really hard to understand until you're in those footsteps. But equally there's
yeah.
less professional support, and yet there's more change than ever. So it is a really kind of
Yeah,
discombobulating
well,
time really for parents.
it is. Well, the village is digital now as well,
Yeah.
and like it's my parents are North Wales. My wife's parents are about an hour and a half away, so we
Yeah.
we struggled with that, like especially in the first year, the idea that you
Mm.
can't just like drop the child off, and then child
Yeah.
support is so expensive, and then
Yeah.
it's really hard. And I think we are the guinea pig generation, and I think we're
Mm.
just trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, powerfully for our children. However,
Yes,
the war
yes,
wounds will be on us. The other thing I just
yeah.
wanted to pick up on, Matthew, before we talk about your current parenting kind of roadmap, is
Mm,
around the school run this morning and like smiling at seeing that reality, like the
yeah.
actual chaos that goes on behind the scenes. And this is something me and my husband talk about quite often, because like a tradition, like traditionally, which again is another thing that we need to pave the way and change, is the like baby groups, the toddler groups, those kind of things
Mm,
that there are, you know, 90% attended by mums, the group
mm.
chats that are 90% attended by
Yeah.
mums or women, is where those conversations about reality tend to happen. So
Mm,
we've definitely found with our eldest, so he's just turned 4, when there is like difficult behaviors and my husband's like, why is he behaving like this? Like, this isn't okay. Da, da, da. And
mm,
I'm like, because he's 4. And that's how all the 4-year-olds behave.
mm.
But you don't see that. So it becomes, again, really difficult to navigate how we manage parenting, not just in the baby bit, but actually in that older bit, when dads
Yeah.
aren't seeing it in the same way mums are often. And like I was when the preschool WhatsApp chat came up, I was like, well, I'm not being the only parent in here. Like, hop on
Yeah.
in to my husband. I was
My
like, why
wife pulled
why
me
isn't
into
this?
it this year at the start of the
Absolutely.
year, and I was like, whoa. I was,
It's a
and it
lot of
is funny,
admin.
but I can bet as well, like 99% of the communication in that chat is by the mums, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 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 okay, good. Because it's the same
Yeah.
in ours. It's just like, I think the dads will just silent, but sit back, they'll watch it, and they'll be like, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have that in ours. Every now and then I'll throw in like a love heart or a thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
here.
yeah. Whilst the mums are putting out like the full messages of, okay,
Oh,
today's mufti day and tomorrow's this. And then do you know what as well, Pip? I think there is so much pressure on parents. Like, and I did say this the other day. There was some sort of day on. It was like odd sock day Tuesday or something.
oh yeah. We've
And I
had
remember
bee day, but you had to
yeah,
dress
and
up as bees with 2 days notice.
course. Why not? Why not? And then I just think sometimes, and even like Mufti Day causes, like we spent so much with our little girl. She's like obsessed with dresses and skirts. So the day that we finally got her into a uniform, and then she's in them, like the next day she can wear whatever she wants. And I think there's so much pressure on
Yeah.
parents these days. But the odd sock day, I remember going to school and dropping her off, and I was like, why is everybody in odd socks? And then at my own, but I carried the sense of guilt like for the rest of the day because I didn't take her in odd socks. And everybody was like, "Oh, he's a bad parent because he didn't give her odd socks."
Honestly,
Yeah,
it is insane. Yeah, when
it
B
is.
Day came out, I was like, come on, give
Mm,
us a break.
I know it's
This
tough
is too much.
trying to
This
keep
is
it up
too
with it
much.
all, isn't it? Yeah, it
Yeah, it
really
is like
is.
it's a whole other job. Have they got this kit for today? Have they got that for today? Have they got
Mm.
it is
Can I just ask
intense.
you actually? You said you've got two
Mm.
boys.
Yeah.
How do you find it then? That's kind of we've explored this a little bit, kind of
Mm.
the identity of masculinity and where's it
Mm.
going. How do you find it? How do you feel with the space of raising two boys at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm really passionate about trying to let them know that they can navigate this world in whatever way they like. So, for
Mm,
example, we see like so little um, healthcare practitioners, teachers, nursery
mm,
workers, so little of them are men. And it's like this shift between like caring professions not being the kind of traditional route for boys and men. And so we have a real like deliberate thing in our house where if, for example, my husband's doing the cleaning, that's not women's work. Like that's a
mm,
joint thing. So we're like, right, do you want to come and do the cleaning with daddy? Come and clean the floor with daddy. We really try and
mm.
create that shift. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I can carry you up the stairs because I'm big and strong. Like, so we're really trying to
Yeah.
create that shift of like, actually, I can be that big, strong, masculine traditional role, and my husband can do the caring, the cleaning kind of stuff in equal measure. So
Mm,
we really try and vocalize that to him, and that cooking dinner is anybody's job in the family, and
mm.
really try and make a deliberate effort that yes, you can go and play rugby and you can go and do stagecoach and sing on the stage, trying to really make everything as even as possible.
Yeah.
It's something
Yeah,
we
I love
really
that.
try and do deliberately, and talking about emotions all the time, labeling emotions.
Mm,
It's okay to feel XYZ. This is how we can navigate it. And he's definitely at the age, and you would have probably noticed this as well over the last year, where he'll tell me like, "Mummy, you can have a unicorn for Christmas because you're a girl." And
oh,
his little
really?
and his
Yeah.
little brother's going to have a dinosaur because he's a boy. And I'm like, oh, where have
Mm.
you picked that up from? And he's definitely starting to notice that different kind of those different kind of gender roles just from how they play
Yeah.
it at preschool. So I'm always trying to challenge, always trying to deliberately kind of just open those conversations, and
Mm,
let them navigate how they want to with their personalities. But I'm really passionate about these conversations naturally
yeah.
as a boy
Mm,
mum, and my husband's the same, in trying to really make sure he is that present dad that can do all the same things. And even with our youngest, he co-slept with him. He was a breastfed baby, so that was my job. But then he co-slept with him to
mm.
try and make us feel like we were doing these things evenly, and to give him those kind of bonding opportunities. It's yeah,
Yeah.
something I'm really, really passionate about, opening these conversations up to hopefully change that generation for them, right?
Yeah, I hope so. Like, 'cause I don't have a boy. I'd love a boy, but I think there's a real kind of crisis around masculinity, and these
Mm.
like traditional masculine values. Um, in terms of just like we see it in school in terms of like how the boys' energy can be very different to the girls' energy, and how we
Yeah.
try and sabotage that and press it down. And it's so I'm just curious, like as a girl mum, how you sorry, as a boy mum, how you
Mm,
find that space, because there are some traditional masculine values and identities that are wonderful and are amazing as well. So the idea that we're trying to, yeah, kind of take these out of our boys, for me, is something that we're starting to explore in our own podcast as well. Like,
mm,
is masculinity in crisis? And I always find it curious just hearing it or seeing it through the lens of a mum as well, because I think there are a lot of mums out there slightly, traditionally you'd say, oh yeah, wait until your daughter's a teenager, that's going to be worrying. But I think it's starting
yeah.
to, we're starting to see a bit of role reversal now. It's like, wait until like your boy's a teenager, and like what happens with, stuff that they get up to, and what if a text gets leaked, and then it's just,
Yeah.
I think, it's a real tough generation to bring boys up in. So it's a big part of the work I think we're trying to do, is trying to
Mm,
champion boys and champion masculinity, because in its
mm,
rawest form, I think it's a beautiful, wonderful thing.
yeah.
So
Do you know what I definitely see in our eldest Matthew is these like literal surges in testosterone where
yeah.
he'll be this really calm, gentle child, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Daddy, let's wrestle," and like he just
Yeah,
needs this like outlet.
outlet. Mm,
Yeah, so I
mm,
think like we love that. We love that about him and harnessing that, but knowing that actually his future, his life doesn't have to be defined by the fact that he's a boy and therefore he has to go into science or
mm.
ball sports or things like that, which actually isn't particularly his personality. He's very theatrical. He's very, he loves nothing more than singing and dancing and acting, whereas his
God.
little brother is very much more give me a ball and all I want to do is kick and throw a ball. So I think their
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
personalities are very, very different. And so yeah, I want him to make sure that he can explore whatever. What all you want is your kids to be happy. Don't you, like that's
Exactly.
all you want? And I'm like, if we, yeah,
Mm,
just be happy, be you, be unapologetically you, whatever that path that kind of
exactly.
leads you down.
You've hit the nail on the head. Just guide them to what they love and to what they show a
Yeah,
natural like ability for. I think that's the best we can do. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And at the moment, that equals Spider-Man. We cannot move away
Ah,
from
nothing
Spider-Man.
wrong with Spider-Man. Nothing wrong with Spider-Man. Hey, Tom Holland was in my gym the other day. The
I
Spider-Man.
really,
Yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah.
You
Yeah, I
you
think.
training with Spider-Man? Check you out. That's
Yeah, that'd
definitely.
be cool. Yeah, I didn't train with him. I didn't train with him. Yeah, I think that would have been frowned upon if I would have just started doing that. But yeah, yeah.
My brand new book, Midwife Pip's Guide to a Positive Birth, is now available. So much more than a book, this is a guide that allows me to hold your hand through your birth preparation journey. With over a decade of experience and knowledge packed in to ensure you really are empowered in the way you deserve to achieve a positive birth, regardless of the twists and turns that crop up. Make sure that you get your hands on Midwife Pip's Guide to a Positive Birth book now and are empowered to have the birth experience that you deserve.
I feel like we can't not talk about your current journey because clearly
Hmm.
very different to what you'd experienced before.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
in terms of your fertility struggles currently with trying for baby number two, which you've shared
Mhm.
so openly, but I can imagine like first time you said you conceived very easily and
Mm.
kind of then probably felt going into deciding to have another child, you kind of walked that path before. It would hopefully
Mhm.
have some familiarity and here you are taking like a completely different U-turn. How's that feeling for you?
Yeah, so as you said at the start, Aurelia happened, just happened, just
Mm,
complete surprise, and then we always thought, oh, okay, it's maybe we've kind of been blessed, and it's always going to be like this.
mm,
And then we've been trying now for kind of the best part of a year. The first few months, we're just like, oh, it will happen next month, it will happen next month.
mm,
And then we got to a position where instead of what I know I did, I don't know, chest probably did as well. Instead of looking forward to taking the pregnancy test, we started to get apprehensive about taking the test each
mm,
month, just because we kind of just knew which way it was going. So there were lots of negative tests, lots of tears, and then also it just looked like everybody was getting pregnant, like left,
mm.
right, and center. Again, that's I know we share a lot about our lives, but equally, I think we found that quite hard when everybody all of a sudden on social media is pregnant. So we Chess went for some tests, I went for some tests, and then they never really found much as well, which was a big part. Like my morphology, my best advice to men as well is that if you are thinking of having or becoming a dad one day, just go for a test, go and get your swimmers checked, because there's so much you can do as a guy. And I think like your sperm cycles that like every 60 to 90 days, like the
Yeah, it's
quality of your
short. It's
sperm,
so much
like it's
opportunity
really
to
short,
influence
so
it.
it's so easy. And it's
Mm.
just this kind of archaic notion that it's, oh no, it's all on my wife, it's all on my partner. No, it's rubbish. You have
Yeah.
a huge role to play in it, but your
Yeah.
role is it's way easier to change and way less invasive than anything that your partner has to go through. So if you are thinking of doing that, I definitely recommend. A lot of my friends now have started to go, because there is, I think every guy carries this. They are like, what if I do have something slightly, like there isn't something right
Yeah.
down there? And I think, your role as a man and a lot of your identity in a man is wrapped up in your ability to reproduce. So I went for mine. Mine were like pretty good. I think the morphology, which is like the shape of mine was a little bit off, but I think that's kind of down to stress. So that I was able to fix that like in no time really. And then Chess has had lots of tests. So then we just got to a position where we did ovulation induction,
Mm-hmm.
where Chess had to take lots of medication for that. We thought, okay, that would probably fix it, that would be it. And then it didn't happen through ovulation induction, which is really hard because of everything that Chess had to take. Her body
It's like a
just
full-time job, isn't it? Like
it's
it's
a
massive.
full-time job. Yeah. So doing that was trying to juggle a child and your career, and it's really tough. So we decided to go down the IVF route. So we are now day 6, day 7. So Chess has been taking so many injections. I think she's on 2 injections a day now, but she's a pro now because so I have type 1 diabetes, so I inject myself like 4 or
Mm-hmm.
5 times a day. So for me, I was like, oh, it's injection, it's fine. But I've got to like appreciate, for a lot of people, taking injections is so invasive.
Yeah.
And it's so like a lot of people have a real fear over them. But she's been absolutely amazing. Like I gave her first one, and then day 2 she did it herself. And she's been feeling pretty good as well. I think the general consensus was that she'd feel terrible. And because she had HG with Aurelia, so she was basically sick every day for Aurelia's pregnancy. It's actually quite nice that I said to her last night, it's nice that your body's just giving you a bit of a break, because
Yeah.
Jess has had to go through so much with her health, bless her. It's amazing that she's so in this, and I love her for that. She's so dedicated to it. So I'm so happy there hasn't been, like, touch wood, any major side effects so far. So yeah, we do the egg retrieval, all being well, next week. And then, yeah, it's funny. She was like, whilst I'm under, you've just got to go and ejaculate into a little pot. So while she's got, it's a lot easier
You
for
got
the
the
guys.
nicest part of that deal, didn't you?
I've got, yeah, she got the shorter straw on that one. Yeah. So that would be the plan, Pip. Yeah. So we've got, egg retrieval next week, and then I believe you have to have a blood test when you go through IVF. Like you don't like pee on a stick to find out if you're pregnant. And apparently there is this thing, I don't know if you've heard about this, in the IVF world. Once they put it back in, everybody in the IVF world, they like go for McDonald's fries. Have you heard about this?
No.
It's like a huge thing in the IVF world where it's either I think it's when they put it back in.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a huge thing. So our plan, hopefully, would do the egg retrieval,
Go to McDonald's. Why
pop it
wouldn't
back
you?
in, you then go to McDonald's, and Chess hates McDonald's. But I was like, yeah, great. So get some skinny
Is
fries.
it just like a passage thing, or is there like
It's like
science
a
to it?
passage thing. So like
Okay,
on wedding days, people bury sausages in the hope that it doesn't rain.
Yeah, okay,
It's
so
kind
it's
of
like
similar like that. Yeah.
a luck thing. Okay.
Yeah. So
Enjoy
we'll
the
see.
McDonald's fries.
We'll see. Yeah. So that's the plan, Pip. Like, it's been a really emotional journey. It's given me so much insight into what other people go through. Like
Mm.
for us, we're kind of a year into our journey. Because we already have Aurelia, I think it's kind of a lot of people, just had a lot of comments online like, look, you've already got one, and we have our own. It's okay for us to validate our own feelings
Yeah.
on this, and it has been really hard.
Mm.
So yeah, we're really excited for this chapter, but equally, we're just going to take it kind of each day as it comes, really, because it's not a guaranteed. But I know so many people are turning to IVF now. So yeah, we'll see. Watch this space.
Well, naturally, absolutely everything crossed for you. But I want to ask you that question that you wish you'd been asked when you were having your first baby. How are you feeling?
What about the IVF process?
Yeah, the journey that you're on right now, like the roller coaster that you've
Yeah,
been through. How actually are you?
yeah. I mean, I think so. I always had in my head that we would just do it like the quote unquote the normal way,
Yeah.
and I think that's it took me a while to build around to it because there's so many factors to IVF as well. I mean, there's a cost side to it as well, which is huge,
Mm-hmm.
um, but we feel like really great because we have a plan now. And
Okay.
look, if it doesn't happen this month, we're so confident that it is going
Yeah.
to happen at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And we're stronger than we ever have been. Aurelia's at an amazing age. And we're in a very, very different position. And a lot of people, a few people have said, like, look, do you think you're going to struggle with the second, like you with the first? And to be honest, like, it hasn't even really crossed my mind. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't think at all. One, because I've done so much inner work myself.
Yeah.
I probably won't have the capacity to, just because I've got kind of so much going on with work and then with Aurelia, but
Yeah.
also I know I've got a great group of mates now, and
Yeah.
actually a great space online because I have been so open and so vulnerable,
Mm.
and people checking in.
Mm.
And I think that's so important. Just the simple check-in. I know we spoke about it at the start. It goes such a long way, and I'm so confident in my group of mates and
Mm.
people around me just to check in.
That power of knowing you're not alone. Like when someone
Exactly.
says, "Oh yeah, me too," it's like, "Oh, that's therapy." Like someone just
Yeah,
telling me that they felt that
absolutely.
as well is so helpful.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
I always ask for 3 top tips, Matthew, on the podcast at the end.
Mm,
And so you've given loads of tips, shared so much experience, which will give some of those new dads or expectant dads listening that moment of me too. So thank you for that,
mm,
because it's exactly what we need in this messy guinea pig generation of parenthood. But what would you share as 3 top tips to anyone listening, new or expectant dad, that you think would be those key take homes that will make their journey that little bit smoother?
mm. Um, Three. So okay, so I mentioned before, but parenting is more about regulating your own emotions than your child's.
Mm.
One thing that I've done over the last few months as well is I can't remember where I saw this, but it was just like the 10-second rule. It's actually quite a military rule. I think a lot of people in the forces use it, where if something has just happened, or is about to happen, you actually try and take 10 seconds before you react to it. So, like, we've gone through a stage of like really big emotions. Like, even the car this morning, I was getting screamed at because I didn't bring the right toy into the car. And I actually I used it this morning. I was like, okay,
Mm.
10 seconds, 10 seconds. And it's so rare that after those 10 seconds, you will then go on and just,
Mm.
raise your voice at your child or anything like that.
Yeah,
So I found that's been really useful, the 10-second rule.
I love that.
Um, that's something that's been, and again, that comes into any uh anything that you do. If somebody's beeped you in the car, or perhaps your partner said something to you, just taking 10 seconds to address the situation, I think it really speaks its way with when you have kids,
Mm.
because there's a lot of big emotions and you get shouted at a lot, and being able to control your own emotions is really important.
100%.
um
Yeah.
the second one, probably just a simple one, like, you don't need all the stuff. Like,
Mm.
it's really simple. I know we were at the baby show and everything the other week, but there is a lot of stuff out there that you feel like, oh, oh, I don't have this new type of pram or this new type of cot, and I don't have this type of toy, and you don't, you've got it all. inside you, intrinsic, everything is there already. There's a couple of things you might need, but don't worry about all the stuff. And thirdly, make sure you're communicating with your partner about everything, even if it doesn't feel like a big thing. If you leave that little thing, it will get bigger. It will get bigger and it will get bigger. So as soon as you feel that, for me, right, I had this level of discomfort in my stomach when I was struggling with postnatal depression. So it was like a knot. It was like a knot in my stomach. And it started off with this really small knot. And then I compressed all my emotions into this little ball in my stomach, and then eventually it got bigger, it got bigger, it got bigger, and then it spilled out. And for me, it spilled out through postnatal depression and just sobbing. And so if you address that, if you feel that little bit of unease in your body, it's telling you something. So don't just push it down there, listen to it and address it. So yeah, those are probably my 3 things.
Love that. I love that. I'm definitely going to try that 10-second rule out. That's such a good one, isn't it? Just regulate yourself for a moment before you then approach their chaos.
Oh, do you know, it was Jason Fox, who was on like SAS Celebrity. You probably recognize his face. He said it, and that stuck with me. So
yeah, that's a powerful one. It's the simple things that make the biggest difference, isn't it? Always. It's never the complex stuff. And I'm also slightly terrified about this, Matthew, but I'm going to take away that asking your partner what it's like to live with you. Good luck. We've been together since I was like 17, so he knows me really quite well. So it's going to be very interesting to see what comes back.
Do it, and I urge everybody listening to do it as well, because it might surprise you, and it might encourage some conversation.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. You've been, absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. These are such important conversations. So, really, really grateful. And if you are listening and you've been like, actually, I need more of Matthew's wisdom, honesty, and reality about this journey, then make sure you do check out Matthew's podcast as well, which is linked in the episode description. So thank you so much. We need these conversations for dads now and for my boys' generation as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much for Pippa. Again, equally, thank you to the amazing work that you do. It's really important. We are this guinea pig generation, but we're trying to figure it out for our kids, and it's really important.
We're winging it well. If you have listened to this birth story, enjoyed it, and feel that you are ready to really embrace and dedicate yourself to having the most informed, supported, and empowered journey, and want to see if we may be able to support you in YPJ, your pregnancy and postnatal journey, please drop me a Instagram DM at midwife_pip, or get in touch on my email, pip@midwifepip.com, and let's chat through things and see if we might be a good match for each other. I hope you've enjoyed listening, and wishing you all the best on your journey through pregnancy, birth, and beyond.